So let's understand the situation in the power sector, and Kofi Agyei joins me for my research. Kofi, so what is it? What are you reading from the power sector?
I mean, we've been observing and analyzing data from the PRC's validation report. This whole thing has to do with cash. I mean, money. And the best way to go about it is to analyze the inflows in the cash waterfall mechanism. Remember that the cash waterfall mechanism was actually revised in August 2023.
Right.
And big players, big IPP players like Sonana Sogli are supposed to benefit or are entitled to $7 million of payment every month. What we understand from the data that we've looked at so far is that the last time that Sonana Sogli was paid under the cash waterfall mechanism was in April of this year, where they were paid that $7 million. Now, if you look at...
So between April and now,
and now no payment. Money. I mean, they are, between April and now, they were supposed to be paid $21 million. If we go by the last payment validation report that was put out by the PRC on their website, May, $7 million, June, $7 million, and July, $7 million, amounting to $21 million. So far, that money has not been paid to, Sonana Sogli now. And in fact, they put out yesterday that they are being owed $259 million. Definitely, Sonana Sogli is not requesting for the entire
money to be paid.
Debt to be paid. But if you want a template, then in December 2023, a similar thing happened where they, threatened to shut down. And we understand that government had to cough up $60 million there and there to settle some of the debt that they owe them. And that $60 million came in two tranches, $30 million in the first month and an additional $30 million in the second month. And they decided to rescind or, suspend their planned shutdown. This time around, we do not know if negotiations actually went on, but we understand that their 560 megawatt power, plant, which is a gas-fire-powered thermal plant, has been, shut down.
Do we know the amount of megawatts they are taking away?
Yes, we know. I mean, the 560 megawatts is about 10% of the country's dependable capacity. If you look at the big IPP players, Sonana Sogli is one of the big guys, although you have other big guys like the Sent Power and AXA who are on board are able to bring a lot. But Sonana Sogli, its production is about the consumption of, let's say, a region like Kumasi or the Western region. 560 megawatts is huge. We understand that at the beginning of the year when we had the power, struggles or the power challenges, it was because of that shortfall of between 505 megawatts and 510 megawatts. And so at the same time, you're having Sonana Sogli taking more than that out of the energy mix, which means that if government is not able to find an alternative, maybe at the moment they can manage the situation, but in the long run, we are going to feel the impact of Sonana Sogli's absence.
It's interesting that Sonana Sogli, an IPP, is complaining because we've always been under the impression that as far as the cash waterfall mechanism is concerned, the IPPs were always taken care of.
Yeah.
So it's interesting that since April up until now, they are yet to receive any payment for the power they've produced for the country.
Definitely, you're right. I mean, the IPPs under the cash waterfall mechanism are classified as, category A. So it means any form of flows that in terms of revenue that ECG will get in terms of the payment, IPPs are considered first. Because in terms of the current generation mix, they produce a thermal, power, and they account for about 60% of Ghana's dependable capacity. At every point in time, you cannot have the IPPs going off stream. That is why they are classified as A. But we understand that, remember, somewhere around June, July, I think August or so, the finance minister came out that some 5 IPPs have agreed
to restructure the debt.
Exactly, to take some haircut. But we understand that they negotiated with 7 IPPs and only 5 agreed to take the haircut. And per the data that we have and what was put out by the finance minister, Sonana Sogli was one of the IPPs that did not participate in the restructuring or government could not come to proper agreement with Sonana Sogli. And since then, we've not seen government making payment to, Sonana Sogli. So many experts have said that government is using the tactics of what they call divide and rule, where they are going ahead to make advance payment to those who agreed with the restructuring. And if you did not agree to take a haircut, then we pay you as and when you want. We do not have enough data to actually back that, but we understand that Sonana Sogli was one of the IPPs that did not agree to that.
I mean, I do understand, and for example, the PURC called for stakeholders' input to fine-tune the cash waterfall mechanism. My understanding is that the review is over, and information I'm picking is that PURC, the board has met with ECG board and the Ministry of Energy. They've come to an understanding that ECG should move its collection from 45% to 98% under the revised cash flow mechanism. And the expectation is that if they are able to do so, there will be a lot of money available on a monthly basis to pay all the players in the industry. Currently, they are doing 45. They are moving it from 45 to 98%, over 50% increment. From your analysis, are they capable of doing this collection?
I mean, ECG is capable of doing the collection, but one other hurdle has to do with the exchange rate situation. Remember that at the beginning of the year, ECG was working with an exchange rate of $1 to 11 cedis, 90-something pesos.
Right.
Remember that ECG produce almost all their power in dollars, and they do the revenue collection in cedis. So anytime they are at the point of making their debt servicing obligation, they are caught within a certain tight web where the exchange rate situation always affects ECG. Now, if you look at the validation report put out by the PRC, ECG now needs to move their exchange rates from $1 to 11 cedis, 95 pesos, to now somewhere around 14 cedis, 90-something pesos. The current payment, ECG would definitely move the benchmark to somewhere around 15 cedis or 16 cedis. So that tells you that ECG can go ahead in the short run to collect more revenue. But when it comes to converting this revenue to paying the IPPs, because the IPPs are being paid in dollars, and converting that money to dollars is always what is causing the shortfalls, the energy sector shortfalls. In previous years, the government would have come in to pay off the shortfalls, but currently we are under an IMF program, so they are now precluded from doing such interventions. And what we understand is that the finance ministry, which is supposed to be the only government entity on this cash waterfall mechanism in terms of paying top-ups.
$10 million every month.
Absolutely. And since August 2023, the finance ministry has not been able to meet their part of the bargain. And many have said that if the finance ministry is able to come on board and pay their monthly top-ups, maybe the ACG will not find itself in.
The other concern here from VRA especially, and then VRA officials are saying that correspondence they have indicates that the IPPs are also demanding a revision of the monthly payment from, I think, $45 million to $59 million. And VRA, for example, says that if the $59 million is accepted, it will amount to all the collections of ECG going to pay only the IPPs. And already they are having issues. Literally, for example, we are told sometimes finds it difficult paying salary of their workers because inflows from ECG does not come on time. So clearly there are issues with cash flow in the energy sector. And here's the case, one player has taken his plant offline. Wondering, there's a fear that the IMF intervention may suffer and other interventions may suffer as well. If things are not resolved going forward, what do you anticipate will happen? I
mean, if you look at the Sonana Sogli is a big player in the IPP space. And one thing that we must pray that must not happen is what we call the cascading effect or the snowball effect, where Sonana Sogli has now been seen by some of the IPPs that, look, they've actually gone ahead to shut down because they don't have the money. They've been producing, they don't have the money, so they've shut down. We are only hoping that other IPPs will also not take such actions, because if you look at the July validation report put out by the PRC, almost all the IPPs were not paid their entitlement under the cash waterfall mechanism. And some of them are still expecting their payment. I'm sure ECG is going ahead with other payment. But if they look at their debt and say, look, big brother like Standard Asogli is off, they've decided to shut down, maybe let me also follow the same path. If they begin to do so, then that will become very problematic for the country, and we could face one of the biggest energy sector crises in terms of the power outages. We should possibly pray or hope that government is able to use the tactics they used in December 2023 to, restrain Standard Asogli when they tried to do the shutdown in that time. I mean, now they've gone ahead, but what is government doing to make sure that they come back, on stream? Because 560 megawatts, trust me, is very significant.
Of course. Kofi, thank you so much for coming through. Let's stay on this.